We finally have the verdict in the messy defamation trial of Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard, and Johnny Depp has won $15 million in the defamation suit. The jury unanimously decided that Johnny Depp proved the elements of defamation, and because of this, he was awarded $10 million in compensatory damages and $5 million in punitive damages, totaling $15 million that Amber Heard will be forced to pay to Johnny Depp. Depp won all 3 of his claims against Amber Heard. However, it was not a slam dunk, as Amber Heard also won a portion of her countersuit, because she was able to prove that Johnny Depp's legal team defamed her as well. She was awarded $2 million in compensatory damages and $0 in punitive damages. Amber won claim 2 in her counterclaim and lost claims 1 and 3. All 42 of the questions related to defamation and Amber Heard's malicious intent when writing the op-ed were answered yes by the jury, with them concluding that she lied about her claims of physical violence and that she acted with malice when she wrote the op-ed for the Washington Post. When the jury first presented their verdict to the judge, they made an error with the paperwork and did not fill out any monetary value for the compensatory damages, with the judge telling the jury that it must be at least $1, but can be up to whatever the jury thought was appropriate. The judge then told the jury to go back to the deliberation room so they could come up with the compensatory damages. We got word an hour before that the verdict had been reached and would be read out in court in Fairfax, Virginia at 3 p.m. local time. The jury deliberated for a total of 14 hours to come to the verdict. Johnny Depp was not present during the verdict because he had previously scheduled work commitments, although he said he would be watching the trial closely from the United Kingdom, which is where he was staying when the verdict was read. Amber Heard was present in court for the verdict, along with all of the lawyers for both sides. The trial started after Depp sued his ex-wife Amber Heard for $50 million over an op-ed she wrote for the Washington Post. In the article, she described herself as a, quote, public figure representing domestic abuse. Depp was not mentioned in this article, but it still had a devastating impact on his acting career, and he lost multiple lucrative acting roles, which is why he decided to pursue the matter in court. Heard then countersued for $100 million over statements that Depp's attorney made about her claims. Depp and his lawyers called her claims a hoax. Heard claimed she was only ever violent with Depp in self-defense or defense of her younger sister, Whitney. The 6-week trial included over 100 hours of testimony combined, so many were shocked to hear the jury come to a conclusion so quickly. After their messy marriage and divorce, the truth of what happened in this toxic marriage has finally been decided.
Number 10. The TMZ slip-up. The explosive testimony from former TMZ journalist Morgan Tremaine established that the celebrity news publication had been able to publish exclusive photos and videos of her during the early stages of her contentious divorce from Depp, based on tips it received about her whereabouts. This directly contradicts the recorded testimony from Heard, saying that she was caught off guard by the presence of the photographers, and that she has no idea how TMZ got a hold of the story. Tremaine testified that he dispatched paparazzi to stay outside the Los Angeles courthouse based on an anonymous tip to capture photos of her in 2016 when she filed for a temporary restraining order against Depp. This slip-up really affected Heard's credibility as a witness. Number 9. Ellen Barkin's testimony. In a recorded deposition, actress Ellen Barkin, who dated Depp for less than a year in 1994, took to the stand, claiming that the actor was in fact jealous and controlling during their relationship, and described an incident where the two were filming Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas together in 1997. Barkin said that Depp was getting into a heated argument with his friends and threw a wine bottle in her direction. While her version of events might be factual, her testimony did not have as much effect on the jury as Heard's defense team was hoping for, as it paled in comparison to the overwhelming support Depp received from the women in his past relationships. In short, it made her defense look like they were grasping at straws. Number 8. Kate Moss takes the stand. Almost a direct contradiction to what Barkin's testimony was hoping to achieve, Kate Moss's testimony clearly resonated with the jury. The British model, who dated Depp between 1994 and 1998, testified that he never pushed her down a flight of stairs. This was important because it directly contradicted Heard's testimony earlier in the trial, when she referred to an unverified rumor that Depp once pushed Moss down the stairs. Moss spoke out about the time that the former couple was staying at a resort in Jamaica when she slipped down the stairs and screamed in agony. It was then that Depp rushed in and carried her to her room and got her medical attention. The 48-year-old's 3-minute testimony was such a slam dunk that Heard's attorneys declined to cross-examine her. Number 7. Amber Heard's ex-assistant speaks out. Want to know what Heard was really like? Just ask Kate James, who worked as Amber Heard's personal assistant for 3 years between 2012 to 2015. She testified that Heard screamed at her when she tried to negotiate her salary of $50,000 per year, less than half of what she should be making as a celebrity personal assistant. In fact, when she did garner the confidence to ask for the salary she was entitled to, she alleged that Heard screamed, quote, "How dare you?" James even said that Heard would regularly call between the early hours of 2 to 4 a.m. while intoxicated, just to yell at her over the phone. Safe to say that the jury believed her on that one. Number 6. Amber Heard's fake crying. Camille Vasquez, Depp's lawyer, accused Heard of faking tears, calling the actor's testimony, quote, "the performance of her life." Heard took to the stand and told jurors that a harassment campaign waged against her by Depp has left her humiliated and scarred for life from multiple death threats. In closing statements, Vasquez accused Heard of sobbing without tears during her testimony throughout the trial. Vasquez addressed the jurors, saying that the story she spun was shocking and overwhelming, even going on to reference the previous testimony provided by Heard's acting coach Christina Sexton, citing her claims that Heard had difficulty crying while acting. Number 5. Dr. David Kipper's testimony. Depp's private doctor described what really happened on the night the actor's finger was severed, corroborating Depp's version of events. It turns out that the doctor was staying on an island in Australia on March 7th of 2015 when Depp sent Dr. Kipper a text that night, saying that his finger had been severed. The doctor arrived on the scene, treated the wound, and took him to the emergency room. Depp then texted him several days later, blaming himself for the incident. He later admitted in court that he initially lied to protect Heard, saying, quote, "I just didn't want her to get in trouble." All in all, Depp came out of this appearing even more likable. Number 4. Dr. Shannon Curry's diagnosis. Dr. Shannon Curry's testimony was the nail in the coffin for Heard's crumbling defense. The forensic clinical psychologist said that Heard did not have PTSD and was merely exaggerating symptoms. The clinical psychologist who evaluated Heard for 12 hours on 2 separate days in December said that she had, quote, "grossly exaggerating symptoms of PTSD. Curry concluded that Heard had a very sophisticated way of minimizing any personal problems, and that her evaluation supported 2 possible diagnoses: borderline personality disorder and histrionic personality disorder. Number 3, Johnny Depp's sound engineer speaks out. When Johnny Depp's friend and sound engineer Keenan Wyatt appeared in court, he narrated an incident when Heard yelled at him during a private flight. He also mentioned that he had never seen Depp attack anybody, and spoke about a time he joined the former couple on private jet flight from Boston to Los Angeles in May of 2014. It was then that he noticed Heard was giving Depp the cold shoulder, and at one point he tried to comfort her by telling her that Depp cares about her, which resulted in Heard yelling at him, saying, quote, "How dare you talk to me," and screaming at him to get away from her. The incident on the private jet would have solidified the jury's opinion of Amber Heard. Number 2, character witness Christy Dombrowski. Depp's older sister by 3 years told the jury that the actor swore to never repeat domestic violence after their mother was physically aggressive towards them. Dombrowski was the very first witness to testify in the defamation trial. When she took the stand, she spoke about their experience as children, growing up with their mother, whom she described as, quote, "high-strung, nervous, and often angry." When speaking of the difficulties that she and Depp experienced growing up, she said that as they got older, they decided that they would never repeat anything similar to their childhood in their own home. Dombrowski's heartfelt testimony painted a sympathetic picture of Depp's childhood, and she was an excellent choice as a character witness. Number 1, the ACLU speaks out. Terence Doherty, the general counsel and chief operating officer of the ACLU, said in a recorded deposition that Heard only donated $1.3 million of the $3.5 million she pledged to the organization from her divorce settlement. And he came with receipts. When Depp and Heard reached a divorce settlement back in 2016, the actress announced that she would donate the entirety of her $7 million divorce settlement to charity, pledging that the money would be split between the 2 organizations, the American Civil Liberties Union and the Children's Hospital Los Angeles, which meant the ACLU should have received $3.5 million. But Mr. Doherty claimed that the organization received 4 donations from Heard, which only totaled $1.3 million, and only one of those payments was from her directly. This revelation completely exposed her and made it look as though she was caught in a web of her own lies.
A jury has found both Amber Heard and Johnny Depp liable for defamation in their lawsuits against each other. After hearing hours of witness testimony and evidence photos and videos, the jury found that both of the exes defamed each other. The jury awarded Depp $10 million in compensatory damages and $5 million in punitive damages, totaling $15 million that Heard will be forced to pay him for what she wrote in her Washington Post op-ed. However, the $5 million punitive damages will be brought down to $350,000 because punitive damages in the state of Virginia are capped at this amount. The jury also found that Depp's lawyer defamed Amber Heard when he made statements calling her allegations of physical violence a hoax. The jury awarded Heard $2 million in compensatory damages and no money for punitive damages, based on Heard proving that Depp's lawyer defamed her in these statements. However, Depp won more money than Heard because he was able to prove greater damages, and he proved all aspects of defamation, while Heard only proved one of 3 counts. Depp originally sought $50 million in damages and Heard sought $100 million. Heard was in court for the verdict, where she tried not to show any emotion. She looked down the entire time the verdict was being read. Depp was not present in court as he had work commitments in the UK, but he released a statement shortly after the verdict thanking the jury for giving him his life back. His statement said in part, quote, "From the very beginning, the goal of bringing this case was to reveal the truth, regardless of the outcome. Speaking the truth was something that I owed to my children and to all those who have remained steadfast in their support of me. I feel at peace knowing I have finally accomplished that." Heard also released a statement revealing she is heartbroken over the decision, stating, quote, "The disappointment I feel today is beyond words. I'm heartbroken that the amount of evidence still was not enough to stand up to the disproportionate power, influence, and sway of my ex-husband." Now that the jury has done their job to bring the verdict, what happens next? A big question on everyone's minds is if Heard will be able to pay the $15 million in damages, or if she will be forced to go bankrupt over this verdict. As of now, Heard's net worth is estimated to be roughly $8 million, and she revealed that she has already spent roughly $6 million on legal fees, meaning she clearly does not have the money needed to pay Johnny Depp. When asked further about what will happen if she cannot pay, a legal expert stated that we are a long way away from money changing hands, and before that happens, it's expected that Amber Heard will file multiple appeals to get the decision tossed out. So even though it seems like the end of this trial, there's still a long way to go before it's truly over. It's expected that Amber will argue against whatever evidence was presented in court, and will also most likely argue that she did not get a fair trial since it was able to be live streamed to the entire world. However, legal experts state that even if Heard decides to appeal this verdict, she will still be forced to post a bond for the full $10.35 million judgment, plus interest as the appeal proceeds. As of now, Heard has 3 options on how to move forward. First is that she will appeal the judgment and try to change the verdict entirely, or she will at least try to pay a lesser amount. But in the meantime, she will have to post a bond for the full $10.35 million in damages, which she might not be able to do. Secondly, if it's determined that she does not have enough money, she still will be forced to pay, and it will be from her future earnings being garnished. CBS News legal contributor Jessica Levinson said, quote, "The question is if she says, 'Look, I don't have it, it's not there, you can look in my bank accounts.' Then we can talk about things like garnishing her wages." Or Heard would be forced to file for bankruptcy. If she does this, it would eliminate the $10 million in compensatory damages, but she'd still be on the hook for the $350,000 in punitive damages. And of course, filing for bankruptcy has other implications that will make it hard for her to get loans in the future, so it's a big decision. And the third and final outcome is that Johnny Depp could decide to waive the monetary penalty. Since we know he has a lot more money than Heard, he might just be satisfied with the verdict enough to not want the money associated with it. Since Depp is in the position of power here, he could waive the money or even negotiate with Heard for her to pay a lower amount.